Now, as the Daily Telegraph reported this week, the NRL has instituted code of conduct proceedings against Newcastle Knights player and Indigenous woman Caitlin Moran. Only hours after the death of Queen Elizabeth II, Moran posted on Instagram the following, along with the monarch's image. Quote, "Today's a good effing day. Uncle Luke announces his tour and this dumb dog dies. Happy effing Friday."
Charming, charming. The NRL intends suspending her for one match and fining her a quarter of her salary for this year, although she will not have to pay the fine if she fulfills certain conditions, including attending sessions on responsible use of social media.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. And naturally, the purveyors of identity politics are outraged. Quote, "I'm calling on the NRL to do their own racism awareness training." Tweeted, you guessed it, Green Senator Lydia Thorpe. "If anyone needs to be educated, it's you. You're responsible for creating a safe workplace for First Nations players. Solidarity with Caitlin Moran. Stand strong, sister."
Yes, stand strong, sister. We're with you, sister. Remind me, what was Lydia Thorpe saying earlier this year about offensive speech?
We need to make things like hate speech illegal.
And it's great to see that this issue has galvanised the ABC into campaigning for free speech. Who would have thought?
You can't just sort of say, shut people down. First of all, free speech, it applies to everyone, reminding all the people who are complaining about certain things that are said, it applies to everyone.
There's this great tweet that comes from someone called Cheek Mediaco is their name, and it said, "Male sports commentators who screamed for the protection of free speech when it came to Israel Folau suddenly find Knights player Caitlin Moran's comments offensive and a top priority of the NRL's integrity unit. The hypocrisy is unsurprisingly blatant. Constantly, women are held to a higher standard than men in all industries, but especially sport. Accountability looks different for women, for First Nations people, and for all marginalised voices."
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Rubbish.
And last Thursday on ABC's Q&A, the executive director of the Ethics Centre, Simon Longstaff, concluded Moran had suffered a terrible injustice.
Simon, should someone be suspended from playing sport because of that?
No, not for that. What she was doing was expressing a view through social media, and there's absolutely no duty that one has to respect an individual's role, and I think she was talking about the institutional role here rather than the natural person, which is a fundamental distinction I think we have to make. So I think it was very unfortunate that she was punished, as she has been, for simply expressing an opinion about the Queen.
Yeah, the institution is the dog.
Dumb
yeah, right,
dog.
Simon.
Yeah,
Simon Longstaff.
Well done,
I think
Simon.
it went a tad beyond simply expressing an opinion about the Queen, Simon. There you go. Would that be like when former Wallaby player Israel Folau expressed his opinion on social media that, his opinion, gays, drunks and adulterers would go to hell unless they repented? So what did Simon Longstaff have to say about that? Surprise, surprise. Quote, "Folau must have known that labelling homosexuals, among others, as sinners destined for hell would be incendiary and risk damaging Rugby Australia," he wrote, saying that brands have a right to protect their interests. And, quote, "Any person who truly feels unable to accept those conditions should either not accept an offer of employment, or if already part of the organisation, then they should consider resigning in order to find a place of employment better aligned with their moral compass," quote.
Was he also suggesting Caitlin Moran resign?
No, ethics are a bit variable.
Yes, looks like the ethics expert has tied himself in knots. And this from Indigenous lawyer Tila Reid.
You know, you and I both know, Stan, that free speech isn't free in this country, particularly for First Nations people. What we've witnessed with Caitlin most certainly has been a disproportionate response. I think we really need to make sure that when First Nations women are speaking out, we're not being over-policed. I mean, this is, you know, just shocking to me.
I know, it's just shocking to me too, this disproportionate response. correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Moran suspended for just one game, whereas Israel Folau was sacked? Now, listen to what Reid said last year on that very same program about Israel Folau.
Back to the gentleman's point in the beginning, it was his experience of feeling the hate, and that's his response.
So, is there a
to it.
difference between intention and outcome?
Well, he's expressed it. He's said that to me is hate speech. You have to think about the way in which people respond and feel and react to those circumstances. Look, each to their own in terms of religion and experiences and expression, but it shouldn't come at a cost where someone is feeling the hate.
And so we're back to hate speech.
Oh, yeah.
No mention of over-policing a Christian minority man then, was there, Tila Reid? Lastly, here's African-Australian woman and writer Sisonke Msimang.
I think we have to recognise that it's actually political speech. It's absolutely shameful that they've come down on her like this. And it speaks to a double standard. I think there's no question that part of why they've come down so hard on her is because she's a First Nations woman.
What?
That is such appalling idiocy. How does the ABC just keep putting this absolute nonsense to air on our tax dollars? She said there, I think we have to recognise that it's actually political speech. Now, just bear that in mind for this next example. Last year, Msimang was a panellist on the ABC's The Drum, which discussed moves by activists to shut down publications of a book by former Vice President Mike Pence because he was part of Donald Trump's administration. What did Msimang have to say about Pence's political speech?
Because if a book is a vehicle for hatred, then I'm not sure why we're defending this book. What concerns me is how we spread hatred. And if that hatred is spread through a book, then I'm all for people cancelling the contract of the book. You don't cancel people, you cancel contracts. So this idea that, so-and-so is cancelled is not in fact true. Mike Pence is not going to, cease to exist in this world. His life is not cancelled. His contract is cancelled.
So cancelling is now execution, or it's not cancelling?
It is. If you could harness the gaslighting, we wouldn't need nuclear power. What we saw there is called hypocrisy. And she was warned that this is actually a two-edged sword. Have a look at former ABC presenter Jennifer Byrne.
Which is what they said in the South when they banned To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes.
It's full of bigotry and hatred.
And now it's on the syllabus in many Australian schools.
So, be careful what you wish for. It's happened before. When you look at
No.
Be careful what you wish for, indeed. Well said, Jennifer. What you use to shut down your opponents can also be used against you. That's the lesson. For the record, we support Caitlin Moran's right to free speech, whatever she wants to say, however despicable and offensive, and she must be judged accordingly. She should be free to say whatever she likes about the Queen and live with those comments. Equally, anyone else should be free to say whatever they think about her.